Skip, thank you very much, and I can't tell you how pleased I am to see such a large gathering here in Ewing today to celebrate what is truly a landmark event, as today we have the formal lighting for the Ewing fiber optic network that will bring to 53 homes and businesses, to the Ewing Elementary School, here to the Western Lee Health Clinic, and to the Ewing Community Center, broadband services so that high-speed internet access will be available for users in this community. The funding for this project came largely from a federal grant, as Skip mentioned, and that was a grant of $454,000 from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Rural Utilities Service. And we also obtained a grant of $84,000 from the Virginia Tobacco Commission. And those two increments of funding together have funded the deployment project for fiber optic lines into the homes, the businesses, and the public facilities that I have identified. Broadband and high-speed internet access really are the critical new infrastructures. They're as important for business and economic success today as the canals and the railroads and the interstate highways were of earlier eras. They're as important today as the telephone when the telephone was first introduced. They're as important today as electricity when electricity was first introduced 100 years ago. And just as the government had a role in helping to finance the deployment of those critical earlier infrastructures, the government is playing a leading role today in helping to bring broadband to all of our communities. I've had a goal for a long time of making sure that Southwest Virginia stands apart, that our communities have high-speed internet access facilities in a way that most rural areas do not, so that in our quest for new industry, in our effort to create new jobs and bring new employers to our rural communities, that we'll have a leg up, we'll have an advantage. And that strategy is now clearly paying dividends. Here in Lee County and elsewhere across Southwest Virginia, the new broadband infrastructures are attracting interest from industry, and we're actually outpacing rural areas elsewhere across the Commonwealth of Virginia in terms of economic development and new job creation. And our fiber optic networks and other platforms through which we're bringing high-speed internet access are a critical component of that success. And here in Lee County, we are pointing the way forward with our broadband infrastructures. 2 years ago, it was my pleasure to be in Rose Hill when at an event very similar to this, we created that community's fiber to the home project and formally lit that infrastructure. And today we're seeing progress in Rose Hill as a consequence of those steps being taken. Now in the Constitution Oaks Industrial Park between here and Rose Hill, we have a new shell building just completed, and industry is expressing a broad interest in that shell building. My prediction is that before very long we'll have new jobs created there at the Constitution Oaks Industrial Park. And the presence of broadband, which was provided by the Rose Hill Fiber to the Home project that we formally launched 2 years ago, was a major reason that that shell building could be constructed, that industrial park could be built, and that we can now anticipate the arrival of new industry at that facility. We also are looking forward in about 2 months to being in St. Charles. And in St. Charles, we will inaugurate another project very similar to this one, where fiber to the premises will bring across the most modern possible platform high-speed internet access into homes and businesses in St. Charles. And we were fortunate to obtain federal dollars in the fall of last year in order to build similar facilities in the Blackwater community here in Lee County. So now we have 4 communities, 2 with active projects, this one and the one next door at Rose Hill, and 2 to come very soon in St. Charles and in Blackwater. And Lee County truly is pointing the way forward for all of rural America in having access to broadband facilities. In addition to linking the 53 homes and the Ewing Elementary School and the Western Lee Health Clinic, this fiber optic project is placing 10 computers that will be available for public access with broadband connections in the basement here of the Western Lee Community Clinic. And those computers will be available most days during the week for public access, so that without charge, people here in the Ewing community and in neighboring areas around Lee County can gain an experience in using the internet and take the benefit of classes that are being offered in the basement of the building here in order to acquaint people with how to use the internet, how to use email, how to use basic word processing programs. And then what we found from other experiences is that after taking those courses and using the computers at the public internet access sites, oftentimes people then purchase their own equipment and subscribe to the broadband connection that brings high-speed internet access to their homes. And those opportunities now exist here in the Ewing community. Those computers are now installed and they're active, and for any who are interested, I'm sure you could take a tour of that today and see exactly where they're located. We stand on the verge this year of a major expansion of broadband all across rural America, and in Southwest Virginia we intend to take full advantage of this opportunity. Very shortly after the election last fall, when it became apparent that passing a major economic stimulus bill would be the first order of business in the Congress that convened in January, I started working with the Presidential Transition Team and also members of our House Appropriations Committee, who at that time were beginning their work in focusing on writing that stimulus legislation. I wanted to make sure that it contained adequate funding to deploy broadband across regions here in Southwest Virginia that still do not have that critical infrastructure, and also elsewhere across rural America. And we were successful in having $7.2 billion provided through that stimulus legislation. Now the grant